Not that long ago, we did a video very similar to this. In fact, it was actually the same type of video where I wanted to make an effort to answer a question that I get all the time. And that is, Justin, I'm interested in trying insert niche brand here. Which fragrance should I start with? And that's always a hard question to answer because it all depends on what you're looking for. While we do want to dive into niche to get into the art of perfumery, to get into fragrances that stretch the bounds of what we previously believed was possible until we experience some stuff that challenges us, I still hold the belief that fragrances should still be pragmatic. We should still have a functional use for them. We should still be able to wear them out into the world to our everyday human occasions because we're still human, even though we do seek to elevate ourselves through this beautiful art form. Just like I did in the previous episode, I've chosen 5 niche brands, some of which you've heard of, some of which maybe you're not so familiar with, and I've chosen 2 fragrances for each brand that I believe carry a good bit of distinctiveness, but also wearability. And most importantly, the fragrances I've chosen from each brand, in my opinion, perfectly represent the aesthetic of the brand they come from. So I've got a cool weather recommendation and a warm weather recommendation for each of these 5 brands, and links to try everything out, including samples, will be down in the description below that like button. Make sure you click that like button, and while you're there, maybe subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Let's dive right into it. Our first brand is the House of Amouroud. I have a number of fragrances from this house. They are a wonderful, somewhat under the radar niche house these days. And for the cool weather, I'm recommending this beautiful fragrance from perfumer Claudir. It's called Oud du Jour. This was one of my first loves from the brand. I first smelled this at least 4 years ago and was smitten. I fell so hard for this fragrance, and I've talked about it a lot over the years, maybe not so much in recent years, but it's still one I really enjoy and can easily recommend if you're looking for something that smells luxurious and rich for the evening time, especially again in the cooler months. This is based on oud for sure, but don't be alarmed. It is an easy to digest oud. Just brings a little bit of this present dry woodiness that kind of grounds the scent, but primarily I'm getting dark, juicy plum, warm and spicy, sweet and woody, a little bit smooth as it dries down, but again, still pretty dry from the woodiness. So elegant. Again, perfect for the evening when it's a little chilly outside. That is Oud du Jour. And for the daytime, I almost selected Lunar Vetiver, one of my absolute favorites from the house, but it may not be the best for the person who's never tried anything from this brand, and you have to be a lover of vetiver, I believe, to really enjoy that one, because it does have a sharpness to it that I personally love. But one that I'd recommend that's a little bit easier to approach would have to be Whetstone. I think those of you who've tried this fragrance would agree that this is a great starter scent for this house. This is based on kind of a mineralic, salty freshness, but not super oceanic, which I highly appreciate. It doesn't necessarily smell aquatic. To me, it smells more like a river or a creek. Shallow, fresh water with stones in it. Although it is a little bit salty, again, I'm not reminded of salt water. It's just minerally, it's rocky in a way, but it's fresh, it's easy to wear, and it does smell different, again, while being very, very easy to wear for any occasion. And again, perfect for the heat. That is Whetstone from the House of Amouroud. Let's talk about the French house of Micallef. Again, wonderful perfumes. They do get a lot of praise these days for a handful of them. One of them that I would recommend for the cooler weather, and this one is no surprise here. You've seen me talk about it. You've seen others talk about it. Maybe you've already tried it. It's DesirToxic. I'm not going to say too much because I've said a lot about it, but this is a very seductive fragrance to wear for the cool weather. You can dress it up or down. It's casual or formal. It has a beautiful versatility to it in that regard, but it is primarily this sweet, fresh, spicy, but also warm, smooth scent. It gets part of its sweetness from black currant and also from cardamom. Beautiful combination here. And it's the cannabis that I think gives it a little bit of its mature edge. Not mature being too sophisticated, but mature being not boyish. This does smell a little bit more refined and put together than your average sweet, warm, spicy night out fragrance. Definitely worth a sample. It is pretty hyped. So go in with a clear, neutral mind as best you can. Don't expect the best fragrance you've ever smelled, but you might love it. I'm just saying. That is DesirToxic from Micallef. And for the warm weather, this is one you definitely don't see talked about very much. This is Osaïto, and this is an aquatic. It is a minerally fresh, salty, watery fragrance with a beautiful, almost herbaceous quality to it. I think it's myrtle that brings this almost sweet, floral, herbaceous feel to this, again, salty, aquatic, fresh fragrance. A little bit of a woodiness down there perhaps, but it's a pretty light scent overall. I find that it hovers relatively close to the skin for most of the day, does not not push out like crazy. You're not going to smell this super strongly on you when you wear it, but I get easily 7-8 hours out of this fragrance, which actually surprised me, especially off first spray. It smells like it's not going to last long, but it actually persists, and it smells classy even though it is fresh and easygoing. That is Osaïto, and that is the house of Micallef. Let's move to the house of Amouage, a house that all of you know about. I'm sure you have at least one sample, if not one bottle from this house. And for the cool weather, I'm recommending Boundless. This is a beautiful tobacco-based fragrance. Tobacco, blood orange, vanilla, maybe some ginger, some other spices. It's very warm, spicy, earthy, a little bit sweet, dry. People say it smells like something in the realm of tobacco vanille. I see what they mean by that, but it has its own thing to it. I think there's incense in here, which Amouage is known for, and that is what sets it apart. It makes it feel less Western, a little bit more Eastern, very wearable, very present. You don't need much of this, but this is night out stuff for me. This is a little bit more dressed up. Doesn't have to be the most formal, but put your best foot forward. You wear this, it will supplement your presence. I don't see who wouldn't want that. That is Boundless. Let's move on to the warm weather. For the warm weather, this one's going to be a little bit more mature, and Amouage does not make super easygoing boyish fragrances, so we just got to work with that. But this is Beach Hut, man. Surprised to see that they still sell this one. I expected this one to disappear as they've changed creative direction, and their fragrances do not really smell anything like fragrances like this anymore, but I'm glad to see it's still a mainstay on their website. You can even get a sample on their website, but I think I'll have maybe a link to a cheaper sample down below, especially with a discount. And Beach Hut, man, is masculine to the core. This is fresh, green, grassy, woody, minty, very realistic, almost like being out in the brush. Does not smell like the beach, does not smell like water or the ocean, none of that. This is green, woody, dry, fresh, strong, and masculine, with a little bit of a heart of myrrh resin, bringing a slightly balsamic sweetness to this very green, woody profile that would otherwise just smell like it's straight out of the 1980s. But I think that myrrh adds a little bit of depth and dimension and ties it to the Amouage aesthetic. Lovely stuff. If you're going to wear it in the summertime, 2 sprays max. I don't know what recent formulations are like, but I imagine they're still quite strong. I don't need more than 2 or 3 sprays. I'm smelling it all day. You've been warned. Don't choke people out. Don't choke yourself out with Beach Hut, man. And let me know if you dig it already down in the comments. If you want quality in your perfumery from inside to out, Argos is a brand to look at, from their bottles to the stories and inspirations to the boxes, and obviously to the quality of the juice inside each bottle. Quality is indisputable here. And for the cool weather, many great fragrances I could have chose from. Honestly, most of their catalog kind of gears towards the cooler weather, but I'm choosing Danaë. This is a fragrance that anyone will most likely enjoy. It even has a little bit of a leaning towards a mainstream appeal, but in terms of the feel, the quality, the aesthetic of the scent, it is elevated. It does smell like high quality ingredients. It is this citrus opening. It's kind of bright in a way, but it is very smooth, rich, creamy, kind of blonde smelling, a little bit sweet, and there's a warm, cozy feel from cashmere wood. Honestly, this stuff is sexy, and it has this incredible sillage that kind of fills the space around you. I've been surprised by how strong this stuff is, and not in an overwhelming way, just in this slow moving, lingering sort of way. It smells beautiful in the air. It's something that catches amazing attention and will probably get you a compliment or 2 as long as you don't choke people out. Great for the cool weather, day or night. This could be signature scent worthy stuff in the cooler months. That is Danaë. You can use the code FRESH10 to save 10% on any fragrance, including a full bottle or a discovery set at Argos. I'm going to link it down below. For the warm weather, one of my absolute favorites for a long time now, this is Brivido Della Caccia. This is one of the absolute few fragrances that Argos makes that I think you can really pull off in the heat, and this one is even pushing it a little bit. This is not a summer fragrance, maybe more of a spring fragrance. It does just fine with some warmth, but this would not honestly be my go-to choice for a hot day on the beach. Yeah, you can be under the sun, but once you start sweating, if you're doing activity, that's a casual situation. This is not necessarily a casual scent, but if you're gonna just be hanging out, maybe going to lunch or something, maybe going to work and not gonna be dressed super formally, I think you can still get away with this, and it does fine. Anyway, this is a green fragrance. Green, mate, smoky woods, and leather. A little bit of a sweetness in there. there, very slight as it dries on the skin, but it's primarily juniper berry. Again, that green mate, some smoky birch wood, leather. It smells very distinctive. It smells very posh, but it's strong. It's authoritative. It has a lot of confidence to it as far as the scent personality goes. It might wear you if you don't love it. So make sure you love this one. That is Brivido Della Caccia. Check it out. The link's down below. And finally, from the distinguished house of Penhaligons, based in London, for the cool weather, I'm sharing with you one of my loves at first sniff. This is Halfeti Cedar. The brand actually did send this to me some years back, and once again, this was love at first sniff, but it has a distinctive personality to it, which means it's not going to be for all of you guys. What I get out of it is this kind of pruny, sweet, dried fruit, but also juicy, like peach fruitiness with rum or some kind of booziness, some very dry cedar wood, a little spicy and warm as it dries down. It can get a little bit stuffy if you spray too much or if you smell it up close very intensely. It can be a lot. So I'm warning you, give this stuff some space to breathe. Make sure it's not too warm because it'll choke you out. This is a beautiful fall and winter scent. It does smell pretty dressed up. It smells pretty elegant. So if you want to have that kind of vibe, if you want to give off a more elevated presence, check out Halfeti Cedar. I haven't tried any of the others, so I know many of you guys always ask me, have you tried Halfeti Leather? Have you tried the original Halfeti? Have the bolt of lightning strike me down now, because I have not tried the original Halfeti, but I'd like to, and I plan to one day. So just to save you guys some time, that's where I currently stand with it, but I can still easily recommend this one per my taste. It works beautifully for the occasions that I outlined. And for the warm weather, again, maybe not a hot day on the beach kind of scent, but definitely has daytime vibes, something a little bit more posh and dressed up, maybe going to work, maybe again, just hanging out in a semi-casual way, but having a little bit more of an elevated feel, something that smells clean and sophisticated. You got to check out Sartorial. This is a beautiful example of the barbershop fougere. It has a uniqueness to it because of its sweet honey-like nature, blended with this iron pressed shirt feel. You do get that vibe in there, but it is lavender clean. There's a soapiness to it. There's maybe some herbs and some citruses, a little bit of a creamy sweetness as it dries, maybe some leather in there. A lot of notes here. There's this fresh aldehydic feel that does smell like clean clothing. Just a beautiful gentleman's fragrance, again, for the daytime. One I can easily recommend from the house for the warmer weather, honestly year round, but we're going to put it in this category. That is Sartorial from the house of Penhaligons. As usual, I want to know what you think of my picks. If you've tried them, down in the comments, and if you haven't, again, the links in the description will take you to places where you can check them out for some good prices, especially for samples. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.